Laws are like sausages. It is better not to see them being made. Good evening and welcome. This is Face the Nation. Our topic of discussion today is law and order. Is Sri Lanka on the right track? Joining us this evening on the show tonight are Tisat Vijaygunawardena, President's Counsel, Dr. Mahi Mendes, Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira, as well as UR De Silva, who is a President's Counsel as well. Let's start off tonight's show with Mr. UR De Silva, President's Counsel. Mr. De Silva, I want to revisit a few months ago when you were on this show and when I asked you a question about whether or not Basil Rajapaksa is going to come into the limelight as far as the 20th Amendment to the Constitution is concerned. You said no, there are no plans afoot for Basil Rajapaksa to come. There may be more qualified individuals who hold dual citizenship. As a result of that, any of them may be appointed to the parliamentary seat. However, that did not prevail, did it? Basil Rajapaksa, at the end of the day, came to the parliament. And your prediction was wrong,
no,
isn't it?
It's not wrong. At that point, it is okay. And he came to the parliament at the correct time. Now, as I told you, there were people, if it is necessary, to come into parliament. But at this stage, it's a crucial point. And see the minister, who is the Minister of Finance? Basil Rajapaksa. That is the main issue here. Because there should be a person who can do something with his experience. Mahinda Rajapaksa, former president and Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, of course, he is an attractive person. He can attract more people and he can do and he can work with some normal day-to-day life. He can work a lot of things, he can do a lot of things and he can work with the people. But here, of course, there should be a person who can take decisions immediately and courageously. So for that purpose, it is the need of the hour. That is why he came to this particular seat. And my prediction is now he is the person for this particular hour.
Mr. De Silva, you say that we need someone who takes firm decisions and who takes a stand when it requires or when it's necessary. Understood. Do you mean to say that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa can't take that stand? Do you mean to say Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa can't take that stand? Do you mean to say that Chamal Rajapaksa can't take that stand? Do you mean to say that Shashindra Rajapaksa can't take that stand? Do you mean to say that Namal Rajapaksa can't take that stand? Or are you going to say that Nipun Ranava can't take that stand? Members of the same family.
That's right. So,
and none of them can take that stand, only Basil Rajapaksa can take that stand.
At this stage, at this crucial juncture, he is the person. That's why I in fact told you that now they can take decisions and they have done it. So for now, because of the corona situation, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, president of this country, and he controlled it in the first two waves. He controlled it very well. We have to accept that. Whether we can say a lot of things, why you opened the airport or why the vaccination was not there, those are critics' things. Those are not properly instituted criticism.
But
so,
Mr. De Silva, he was the head of the presidential task force appointed.
That is the reason.
Look into the COVID-19 related issues.
That's right. So then,
but if he has not taken a stand then, how can we expect him to take a stand now?
No, I want to inform you, he took up the stand and he was the person who...
He was not even in the country, Mr. De Silva.
No.
For a few weeks.
No, that is after first two waves he went abroad. But in the first two
okay.
I know personally that he decided to pay 5,000 rupees to people. He decided on that, and then everybody tried to implement it.
Mr. De Silva, people can decide. At the end of the day, it's not his own money that he's going
to...
No,
that's not, I quite appreciate that factor. But whether it is necessary or not.
If he uses his own money to give the public 5,000 rupees, then it's okay. Then you can say that he has taken a proper decision and a stand. But giving the public's money to the public is not taking a firm stand. That's just dispersing it to the public.
If it is necessary, you have to take that stand. Because as you ask that question, I must tell you, the opposition leader, Honorable Premadasa, he told the world that it is necessary to give 20,000. So how is he coming out with his own money? No, his position is that we can distribute 20,000. It is very easy to say, but having considered everything, he has decided to give the necessary people the relevant 5,000 rupees. That is, I think, a firm addition.
Ms. De Silva, this time around, do you think Basil Rajapaksa will do something for the country or will do something for himself?
No, I don't think. If he wants to do something to himself, without coming to parliament, he has every opportunity to do so. But
now you have power. Now you are the finance minister.
No, he had the power, but when he comes to the parliament...
But if he had the power, he should have acted.
That's what I'm saying. By coming to parliament, he has more power to do more services to the people. That is why I inform you that he is there at the correct time.
Right. So, Mr. De Silva, in your opinion, do you think the Sri Lankan government is on the right track in terms of implementing law and order?
That's a different matter, because now, as far as the Basil Rajapaksa is concerned, I have asked you. I answered
No, it's not about Basil
Now you are talking about the law and order. Law and order, of course, you can't say by looking at 1, 2, 3 points that it is not going at the correct path. It is going at the correct path. The implementation process, that people who are implementing have different ideas, especially the police. What I am saying is, police have acted unnecessary, unwanted things. They have done it. So by doing so, the people will say various things to the government. So government is getting the blame because of their action. And then with regard to the PHIs, they also more responsible people, they should come and say what actually happened. They haven't done so.
But Mr. Silva, don't you think that it is the police who takes actions based on the political will of the politicians in the country?
Not so. No, it is not the correct position. It was decided according to the law. It should be decided by the health authorities. So health authorities has taken up that position that you should not have gatherings. So because of the COVID situation, because of that, they have stated that you must control it. So police have gone beyond that point, and they were there and they were protesting. So there is no purpose of curtailing that. If they are not behaving in the correct way, the police should have gone there and then they inform him to go away. But if they are not going to adhere to that position taken by the police, then they have every opportunity to arrest those people.
Now, I'm getting back again, Mr. De Silva, very quickly. I'm getting back again to the Basil Rajapaksa entry to parliament.
Right.
Why I'm asking you this question is, I want to draw a parallel between the entry of Basil Rajapaksa to parliament as well as the protests that was carried out on the same day, and where individuals were arrested and then bailed out and then taken to the camps in Mullaitivu for quarantine purposes, which is okay, which when someone looks at it, one could say there are health issues in the country. As a result of that, such action has been taken. Then what about the people who gathered to celebrate Basil Rajapaksa's entry to parliament? Aren't they supposed to be quarantined as well?
So that's what I am telling you.
The police went and told them to not to gather on that day.
That's what I am telling you. Implementing
they were scared.
Is not correct. I must tell you point blank that if they are acting according to the law, then it should apply to the opposition as well as the government.
So you accept, Mr. De Silva, that there is a problem with the implementation of the law in this island as we speak at this very moment?
Certainly, it is there.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. U.R. De Silva, President's Council. I now move my attention to Thisat Wijayagunawardena, President's Council as well. Thisat, thank you very much for joining us this evening on the show. You're coming on the show after some time as well. I want to revisit what you said before, Thisat, in terms of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. However, there was no opposition from the opposition parties in Parliament with regard to Basil Rajapaksa's entry to Parliament. There were some sort of opposition that took place. However, the opposition was not felt. What was the reason behind this?
Thank you for inviting me for this program. I'm seeing after some time. I don't think opposition has any objection for any member of parliament, any person coming into the parliament through the national list. Whether this national list appointment is in terms of the law is an issue. Whether you can appoint a person like it has happened in the past. It has happened in the past. A person whose name had not been in the original national list have been appointed to the parliament.
Yeah, because this is the second time that Basil Rajapaksa has been appointed to parliament in this way.
In the same way. In the same way. But Basil Rajapaksa, the entry into the parliament has nothing to do with the. I don't think it is a concern about the concern of the opposition.
Yeah, him entering parliament probably is not a concern to the opposition. However, having power centralized with a family dynasty at present, isn't that a problem for the opposition?
That anyway, that those powers were anyway with the family. When the 20th amendments were brought in, we opposed that because of the executive presidency and its powers. Executive presidency with those powers which were brought back by the 20th amendment is detrimental to the country. We can see the results now. And anyway, whenever Rajapaksa family ruled this country, majority powers, 75% of the economy always had been handled by the Rajapaksa family.
So, Tisat, are you trying to say that this is not a concern for the opposition?
No, that is a concern. That is a concern in this way.
It probably is not a concern for the opposition, but it's a concern for the people.
As an opposition, we are against the nepotism. It should not be, but any country should not be ruled by one party. But even when Mr. Basil Rajapaksa came into the parliament, those powers were anyway used by Rajapaksas. Yeah, our objection was there from the inception. Even when Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa contested this election, that is what we told people, not to give this power to Rajapaksa family back, because again the Rajapaksa family will be ruling this country. It will be a family affair.
Yeah, but Tisat, what I want to ask you is now, based on what Mr. De Silva said, he said that their firm decisions were not being taken. As a result of that, Basil Rajapaksa's entry is going to be good because firm decisions are going to be taken now. So does that mean that 225 members of parliament who were reigning power in the legislature of this country can't take a firm stand against COVID-19? You had to have an outsider with a dual citizenship to come and rule our country and tell us what to do?
In fact, when it comes to the COVID-19 situation, government did not seek the support of the opposition. Opposition was never called for any, they did not seek the support of the opposition. All the decisions were taken not even by the 225 members of the parliament, or not even by the members of the ruling party. Not all the members were consulted. Now all the decisions were taken by a task force appointed by the president. Even some of the members were not even aware of the decision that had been taken until they were announced. So the firm decisions, if Mr. Basil Rajapaksa is the only person can take firm decisions, then the people shouldn't have come before people and asked them to appoint Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Tisat, very quickly, before I move to Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira, do you think there is a rift between the brothers? Because when you saw the taking of oaths as ministers and the changing of portfolios, where Mahinda Rajapaksa's portfolio was given to Basil Rajapaksa and a new portfolio was created for Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, a few hours later, certain departments that came under the purview of Basil Rajapaksa was transferred to Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Is there a problem? Or there seem to be a problem? I don't know, I'm asking you.
There seem to be no problem with that. There may be, I don't think these action have been taken without the consent of Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa. There could be little heartaches here and there, but when it comes to the power, the family acts as an unit. That's what we have seen in the past. That's what we are seeing in the present.
Right. Thank you very much, Sisas Vijay Gunawardena, President's Council. I now move my attention to Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira. Gamini, you've been on this show a couple of times as well, just as Mr. De Silva, just as Thisat, just as Dr. Mendes. You've always been on the side of the government most often than not, saying that they are doing the right decision, and most often than not when we spoke about the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. My question is very simple. I'm not going to add any thought or view. I'm just going to pose a question to you. The question is, are you satisfied now with the law and order situation of the country? අපි සිංහලෙන් අහුවොත් අපි අහනවා දැන් සතුටුයිද?
සතුටුයිද?
දැන් සැපද නෙමෙයි.
දැන් සැපද නෙමෙයි සතුටුයිද කියලා අහන්නේ. දැන් සැපද කියලා අහන්නත් බෑනේ ගාමිණී. එතකොටත් මේ පොලිසිය එක වෙලා අරන්
Now the
යනවා.
point is very clear. You are asking me whether the law and order in this country is intact.
Intact.
I say intact.
Because Mr.
Law
Says
and
there is a
order,
problem with implementation.
The law and order is intact. There is no two words about that. There are some incidents that those incidents are capital on the people. Some people capitalize on those incidents. So that is what actually happened. Now, simple example is, there are many issues during the last regimes against the president. Now, there is no question at all, no issues raised against the president in this country today.
What do you mean by that? Sorry, Gamini, I didn't catch you there. You say that there are no issues with the president because we, based on my knowledge, there were several court cases against the president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa,
No,
that was withdrawn because
he was
as
not,
a result
he was not
of
the
becoming
president then. He
of
was
the-
not the president then.
Yeah.
Now, what I am asking, what I am saying is, against all presidents in the
In the past, okay.
past, get some kind of blame from the country, maybe some corruption, maybe some wrongdoing, maybe some mismanagement or whatever it is. But in this moment, you can see he is not put his fingers to any of the law and order departments or the wings or whatever the people. And he is not interfering with that. So that is number one. You have to give the example from the top. That is number one. Then number two, the police are doing their duty. Sometimes they might done some wrong things or the mistakes things and things like that. But again, you can see there was one army officer who interfered with an incident recently happened, and the law taken place right way.
Right. Can I interrupt you for
Surely,
a second?
surely, yes.
Gamini, very interesting thoughts that you're saying, because you're saying that there are no interference from the top. Can I know what is the law when someone is bailed out by the magistrate's court, he or she to be taken to a quarantine center? What's the law there?
Yeah, very good question. Now, first of all, I have to explain you why these people are arrested. Whoever arrested by these kind of, the similar situations were in the Sri Lanka, so people were arrested recently violating the quarantine law.
Violating the quarantine
Violating the quarantine law.
Understood.
But when we say quarantine law, that is only 13 paragraph of the Quarantine Act, right? But it is linked with the penal code of this country, right? You can see sections 262 and section 264 says that you cannot spread a disease dangerous to the community. If you try to act on it, the police has the power to arrest the people without a warrant.
But they have to be produced before court.
That is what I am saying. So then arrest and produce. So that is non-bailable.
After being produced before court, when the magistrate court
I'm coming to that point. I'm coming to, there are two limbs on this. Two limbs.
What happens?
Right?
Then
Number one is arrest. So arrest is justifiable if there is any violation of section 262 or 264. Then what happened? The person who was arrested will be brought before the magistrate court, and then the magistrate has power to bail out or keep them further
In remand custody.
Now there are two parts. One party is the prosecution, that is the police, and the other party is who is appearing for the suspects, and both will submit. This is what happened. Both will submit their point of view, and the magistrate, this country, independent magistrate, unbiased magistrate, they decide on the fact, available facts and
okay, there is no question about that.
So
now the magistrate made a decision.
Then they will, the magistrate will release them on bail. After that, then there is another point of view. That is, if there is any violation of health guidance, then there are some other wing of the government look into that matter. That is the health authorities. If the health authorities thinks that it is very necessary to put them in a quarantine, they have to do it. Now, I might agree with you whether these people must, whether the authorities must bring them to the quarantine center for far away or keep them in a house where they are living. So
are you saying that the police
there is a kind of arrangement. So I don't know what kind of arrangement that they have. So my personal view is sometime we might be able to put them in their house
So Gamini,
for 14 days.
Gamini, then what is the thought? Today there was some protest held as well. Then they were not arrested. They were not produced before court. They were not sent to quarantine centers. Then
Yes.
what is the law that was applicable there?
So very very valuable question. Now can I ask a question to explain that? Now not everybody who violates the traffic rules are caught by the police.
It's like a sausage, no, Mr.
Caught by,
you don't know what is happening.
Caught by the police.
We don't want to even know how this process is made.
Not every wrongdoers are brought before the courts. So that is a natural, not in this way. Everywhere in the world,
So the
you
police
cannot
decides
punish,
as to
you cannot arrest, you cannot produce the people wherever who is doing
Gamini,
wrong.
you just mentioned that this is a penal code offense.
Yes.
Right. So now let's put an example for layman's terms. I kill someone. I say sorry. And then the police decides, fine, he has said sorry. The victim's family members also okay with it. So I'm going to release that person without an issue. Is that okay?
Can you
No, is
can
that
you give me
okay?
an
That is not
example?
okay. No, that
Can
is
you-
not o- that
no,
is not
that is not
okay.
okay.
That is because
Can you give
the
me an
Attorney General's
example?
Department takes actions against a penal code offense.
Now, can you
That is
can
the
you give
reason
me an
behind that.
example who has brought this matter to the
what is
notice
your-
of the
but
police?
your-
They were not.
But
they
the
were
problem
not
is,
acted- they were not acted.
Gamini, your description on this is not right.
No, what I am saying.
You can't pick and choose.
I
The
can
police can't pick
explain
and choose. Police can't pick and choose a penal code offense.
No,
it has to go
pick and
through a
choose
proper
is-
system.
Pick and choose is for some benefits, but not for the law.
Whose benefit?
Now,
whose
that
benefit?
is what I
Government
say.
benefit?
Not. So I can tell something, but you can't understand it and you can twist it.
No, I'm not.
That's
no,
a
I'm
different
not
kind of
twisting.
thing. So you
No,
can
I'm
do
not-
it.
no, I'm asking. Whose benefit?
I am sure
Whose
you can
benefit?
do it. You
So
can
whose
do it.
benefit?
But
Whose
you have to understand, in the point of view of the majority of the people, every person who is doing something wrong cannot be brought before the police or brought before the magistrate court. That cannot be done in anywhere. Can you tell me anything if you have informed the police that the police
Even
has
if you
not
make a
acted?
penal code offense?
No. If you
No, even
inform,
if someone makes a penal code offense, are you trying to tell me that they are not liable to come to the police and the police don't have to produce them before court?
Police has a duty. Police has a duty. If police
But they
is,
can ignore.
if police not perform their duty, then there are some other avenues to go against the police.
Right. Thank you very much, Attorney Gavini Pereira. Different points of view on the show tonight. Very interesting. When we open the floor for questions from our journalists, I'm sure Mr. De Silva, Gamini, Tisat, along with Dr. Mahim Mendis will have a lot of questions posed to the panelists later on in the show. Dr. Mendis, you listened to 3 speakers already with regard to the entry of Basil Rajapaksa, then about the law and order that is being implemented for a few with a different spade, for some with a different spade. So I want to ask you, Mendis, what is your thought? You're an academic. You've been in this political play for some time now, and you've seen how things unfold. As an academic, what is your thought? Do you think the government is on the right track in terms of implementing the law and order in the country in a just and fair manner? Your time starts now.
How can anyone in the right senses ever admit that the government is doing the right thing? I don't think even people in government, if they have a conscience, will ever say that they are doing the right thing. When someone found guilty by the Supreme Court and put in prison is given a presidential pardon in an arbitrary manner, well, is it something right? Well, what is important is that we need a civilized government. We need a government that is moral, not immoral. We have had an election 2 years ago in order to establish a better social, economic, political, cultural, and moral order. Certainly, what has happened ever since this government came to power is making a mockery of justice, making a mockery of that which is good, and making that which is evil reign supreme. Very clearly, this government lacks morality, it lacks principles, and its members who are at the helm, those in the cabinet and those in parliament, have not shown in any way that they are prepared to set the right example to this burdened nation. Now, they were saying, some of the members here, maybe they earnestly believe in what they say. They said that Mr. Basil Rajapaksa has come in order to save that which has gone wrong. Well, the same Mr. Basil Rajapaksa had been the Minister of Economic Affairs in the government that was routed in 2015. If Mr. Basil Rajapaksa was such a capable manager of the economy, they wouldn't have lost the elections in 2015. Actually, I really don't know why I should be talking about Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, because as far as the opposition is concerned, this is a non-entity.
No, but Dr. Mendis, if you look at the last 5 years, there has been a very strong comeback by the SLPP as a separate entity or a separate body to emerge victorious at a presidential election and even a general election, and first at a local government election as well. So that credit has to go to Basil Rajapaksa, don't you think so?
Well, as to who formed this government, as to who was behind the SLPP Pohotua is immaterial. One thing is very clear. The people have not mandated anyone but a leader called Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The people, the 6.9 million people who voted at the presidential elections, gave a clear mandate to this gentleman called Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, after 2 years, approximately 2 years in power, has proved beyond reasonable doubt that he has no solutions to the problems confronting the people of the land. Not only that, the members of the government parliamentary group openly say, they go on media and admit that if Mr. Basil Rajapaksa was there, these things would not have happened. What are these things that shouldn't have happened? They have admitted very clearly that they have made a mess of everything, a mockery of everything. Social, economic, political, cultural, moral sectors of life in crisis. Mr. Basil Rajapaksa has been brought, according to them, to save what Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his brother, experienced veteran politician Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa could not do. They have insulted their own government. Members of the government, parliamentary group, continue to insult themselves. They have undermined the president of the land, saying that someone else who happens to be, I don't know, some say that Mr. Basil Rajapaksa is a dual citizen, I don't know. But from where did he come? Are we hard up for someone who did not even come to parliament to be brought by asking one of the parliamentarians to step down? As far as the opposition is concerned, this is a hilarious situation. Hilarious because this is a man who was at the helm of economic affairs in 2015 and routed, defeated, and humbled by the people. He cannot be having magical solutions to the problems confronting the land at this moment of time, where the people are in a massive upheaval. Wherever you go, in 25 districts, in 9 provinces, the people are in a massive upheaval.
Dr. Mendes, now, when you talk about the opposition now, what is the role of the opposition? Do you think that the opposition is doing a good job in parliament? There seems to be some issue with that as well, because let's talk about the no confidence motion that was tabled or that is going to be debated upon in a few days from now on Udayagam Mampila, the Minister of Power and Energy. And we saw the manner in which how Sajid Premadasa's camp, the SJB, signed a no confidence motion and gave it to the Speaker himself. And now this matter is going to be debated. However, the TNA has not given their view on the no confidence motion yet. The UNP has already said that they won't vote in favor of the no confidence motion. The NPP has already said that they won't vote in favor of the no confidence motion as well. So if that is the case, what is the point of having an opposition that doesn't have teeth?
Well, what do you mean by the opposition has no teeth? Why has
the opposition has not been able to unite the opposition parties in parliament? That is the reason I'm saying that the opposition doesn't have teeth. They only have the members within their camp supporting a cause. Where is the TNA? Where is the NPP? Where is the UNP now? At least with one member, they have not been able to convince them to vote in favor of a motion that is being brought for the public goodwill. Let's say the no confidence motion's objective is that. But what is the opposition doing? Absolutely nothing.
The opposition, why has the dominant opposition led by Mr. Sajid Premadasa, the SJB, Samagi Jana Balavegya, that polled approximately 5.5 million votes?
5.4 million votes.
5.4 million votes. Why did they bring this no confidence motion? Is it to oust the government of Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa? No, certainly not. They have brought this no confidence motion to show that this government is absolutely unprincipled. They cannot talk with one voice. They cannot stand firm as a united government. They blame one another for the fuel price hikes, right? There is no collective responsibility.
But Dr.
Parliamentary government cannot survive.
Yeah, but Dr. Mendes, just after 1 year of being appointed as a leader of the SJB, there was a confidence vote on the leader of the party as well, within the party ranks.
They can have a confidence vote on a daily basis if they want to, right? Okay, so that is up to them. There's nothing,
but that
there's nothing hilarious about that.
Isn't it?
There is an undisputed leader. There is no dispute with regard to the leadership of the Samagi Jana Balavegya. We know very clearly that Mr. Sajid Premadasa is the undisputed leader of the SJB. There is no doubt in the minds of anyone, very clearly. But what I'm trying to say is this. The SJB, in bringing this we were talking about the no confidence motion. Why did they bring that? You were saying that the NPP is not supporting and someone else is not supporting.
PNA, the UNP.
Right, okay, right. Well, they are, I believe, I respect all these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen in opposition, right? That's a different story. But the SJB as a dominant party has brought this in order to drive a point to the people of this land and also the people, including the international community, that this is not a government that can even take collective decisions. They cannot even own up for what they have decided.
Thank you very much.
Who is responsible for this hike?
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahimendis. We'll open the floor for questions, and then we'll have the four speakers be grilled by our journalists as well. So onto my immediate right is Nadim Majid, onto my immediate left is Jayamal Ratnayaka, and onto my far left is Disal Kapuge. Let's start off tonight's show with Nadim.
Thank you, Shamik, for a change.
For a change, yes.
Thanks. Mr. De Silva, I'd like to start with you, actually, because you were talking about the need to take firm decisions, and that's why Mr. Basil Rajapaksa was brought in. When you say firm decisions, do you mean firm decisions like the impeachment of Chief Justice Shirani Bandanayake following the rejection by the Supreme Court of the Divinaguma bill?
That's a different matter, but I am talking
But
about
that was a very firm
Divinaguma.
decision.
No, but I will show you. Divinaguma is the main issue here. I want to tell you that he is responsible for Divinaguma, and he has drafted everything, and then he implemented it and shown to the world, to the Sri Lankan people, that this is a way that you should proceed. And they by implementing that, it took a lot of benefit to our people. By filing that particular act and then going to the Supreme Court has decided that it should go around the country by asking everybody to...
Because constitutionally it was infringing on the prerogatives of the provincial councils.
According to him, he was of the view that it should not be done in that way. This is the benefit of the whole country. That is his view. Wait.
Maybe his view. It wasn't the view of the court.
No, that is his view earlier. His view, personal view. And court was of the view that it should do, according to law. Now, by doing that, and for various other reasons, he was of the view that this particular lady, that is Chief Justice, is not suitable to this particular post. That is his personal thing. Then he drafted it and then supplement. And thereafter, there was inquiry, and what that happened to an inquiry, all these things are...
So I'm saying, is that the kind of thing that you want to see repeated, Mr. De Silva?
You are talking
Isn't this very harmful to democracy?
This is not the way, in Sri Lankan people, of course, they take one incident and then
Mr.
they
De
try
Silva,
to
it's not one incident,
not?
because you look at that, then you had that one incident of the Chief Justice being impeached. It's the enabling environment that was caused by the 18th Amendment, which was removed somewhat by the 19th Amendment, but now has been brought back through the 20th Amendment. It's because of this enabling environment that you're also seeing incidents like protesters exercising their legitimate fundamental right of dissent and freedom of expression are being hauled off for arbitrary detention. I mean, they're calling it quarantine, but let's be honest, that's not quarantine, it's arbitrary detention.
That's perfectly right. I quite appreciate that.
So don't you see the connections between these actions, between the environment that has been created that is enabling authorities to act with impunity?
So what is the involvement with Basil Rajapaksa there? So
he's a part of that system.
No. What I'm saying is the government is going ahead of the country by try to implement the law and order. So implementing process, I specifically stated, implementing procedure is wrong, because police are of the view that quarantine, in the sense that they should send to a center and keep that. That is how we will help the country. But it is not correct. If the government...
Don't you agree that the police also, Mr. De Silva, are acting in a very partial and biased manner?
Biased manner in the sense, how... That's why I inform you that health authority has decided that gathering Now, though the Constitution says very clearly you have the right at this juncture whether it is proper to have the gathering.
Yeah, but Mr. D'Silva, you look at if you look at the video,
ask that question why they have not taken the people who have protested today. Because they have relaxed the conditions or the regulations by giving more people together.
Since when? Since when?
Before 2 days before, the health authorities had declared that you have to have gatherings, and then by doing so, they have allowed 150 people to be there in a wedding ceremony, and then thereafter other areas also, if you have urgent meetings, those things were given, and then for that purpose, it had been relaxed. That is why they think that if they are acting properly, then they should not be arrested in that way.
Mr. D'Silva, now, if you look at the video of these protests, most of these protests, I mean, we can't speak for every single individual there, but when you look at it, they were practicing, you know, maintaining distance between each other. I mean, you compare it to what was allowed by these gatherings of weddings and opening up restaurants and pubs and whatnot. Comparatively, you're going to get far more cases at these events, these super spreader events like weddings, than you would have at any of those protests. In fact, one could argue that it was the police who, by intervening and coming into close physical contact with those people who were maintaining physical distance, that it was the police that were violating the health guidelines.
I also agree with you in that case, because I think that police have done wrong thing, because they should, as my learned friend told us, that they should have every right to arrest them. That's a different matter. By arresting means that they don't want to take them to the magistrate straight away. There is no hurry. But what they did was wrong. They should have asked the PHI to come over and taken a rapid test. Right? So then once you take that test, you can find out whether there is a COVID-19 patient or not. If there is a patient, only they should be sent as close contacts to the quarantine centers. Otherwise, why no necessity?
Yeah. So why wasn't the police exercising? I mean, forget, let's say that's a procedural, that's how it should have been exercised. Why didn't the police implement the same law? I mean, we've been asking this Eka Ratak, Eka Nitiyak. Why didn't the police implement the same law?
I'm saying that police are people who are doing it wrongly, because in earlier...
So who is the political authority that is responsible?
You are
is it the Justice Ministry or the Law and Order Ministry?
No. It is the responsibility is with the IG, and he should come and say there is a political pressure. That is why I am not going to implement it.
There is no responsibility at all on the shoulders of the minister in charge of the police.
No, minister has also power, because he in Parliament he has stated our police officers have done correctly. That is wrong, because this is not the first occasion. Earlier, Puma Mali incident also, I am of the view that they should not taken them to the quarantine center because there was no test done. So they can on their own, without PHI taking a test, they can on their own do that. It's wrong. So
this is also problematic. When you look at like the actions, like Mr. Sarath Weerasekara in Parliament condoning the behavior of the police. I mean, that is a very problematic system.
I say that you should not say in that way, because they have done something wrong.
Minister,
you have to accept that fact, and then try to solve that problem.
Minister, you are a senior advisor to the Ministry of Justice. Did you speak to the Minister of Justice regarding this?
Quite correctly, I must say that I met the minister earlier, not this incident, earlier incident where he tried to put the photographs of the suspect arrested by the police. I said, don't do that. You are allowing the people to come to know that every person taken into custody is a wrongdoer or the culprit.
To which minister? Which minister?
The minister, in the sense that the law and order minister. So I personally inform him, don't do that. You are taking a different issue, and don't take confession and publish in papers. Those things I personally inform him. But unfortunately, if he is not going to take up seriously, that's up to him to do that.
So what is the stand of Ali Sabri, President's Counsel?
That of course he never discussed with him, but he says you have to adjust to the law and order, and you must implement it in a proper way. He won't say that you have to do this and wrong things you should do. No, he will never say that. He will safeguard the correct people, and he will criticize the wrongdoers.
Mr. Gamini, we've constantly heard, especially from Minister Sarath Weerasekara, who constantly talks of the need for discipline in this country. We heard this from many quarters, not just in the government, even there's some in society as well. We say that we need to have a more disciplined society. I'm curious as to what the government's understanding of this word discipline is, because I mean, as I mentioned earlier, if you look at the way that people were behaving in those protests before the police jumped in, they were acting in a very disciplined way. They were maintaining physical distance, and they were acting in what I understand as a disciplined way. My question to you is whether, in the perspective of people like Minister Sarath Weerasekara and the government, when they say discipline, is what they actually mean obedience? Because obedience and discipline are two very different things.
Obedience is a part of the discipline.
No, they're different things.
Right? But discipline is not always the obedience.
Yeah.
Right? That is what...
But do you agree with that statement, that what the government actually wants is not discipline, they want obedience?
No way they say that the obedience is the discipline. Right? Now, simply, I will give an example. Now, you are talking about these protests. If we take the protest during the last few years, not in this government, even the past governments, you know how these university students are conducting their protest.
This is not just university students, so these public sector employees as well.
No.
The police were falling off grandmothers on buses.
I will take one example. Now, you know, there are some monks also involved in these protests, right? Have you ever seen any kind of protest done by the university students that they are doing it in a disciplinary manner? No. They are always trying to make a trouble and trying to get some kind of animosity and then get the maximum utilization of that against the government, whatever the government. I am not talking about this government.
But
so that is
as
how
citizens, they have the right to express dissent, to express dissatisfaction, disillusionment or frustration against whichever government is there in the day, whether they are students or public sector workers or doctors or nurses or PHIs or even ordinary private citizens, people who are environmental rights activists. That dissent was also stifled. If, in case we've forgotten, their banner was taken down at the Vihar Mahadevi park, citing on some very sketchy grounds. The stifling of dissent is not the promotion of discipline. Do you agree?
I agree. But at the same time, now think about a very broader view. Now you can see, now we are towards a developed, I mean, we are towards, our country is going towards developing, I mean, to develop situation. Now, can you tell me, in other countries, right, these kind of things happening against the public? Now, this is against the public. If you are doing something against the government, that is against the public.
No, Mr. Gamini, if something of this sort happens elsewhere in the world, the Minister of Law and Order would have resigned. Now, in Sri Lanka, the situation is different. Don't you agree?
That is correct. Now there are very few instances, but Law and Order Minister, I don't want to talk about the politicians. Now, again come to the point that he pointed out. Now, now all these rights and privileges comes under the Constitution. That is the freedom of expression, freedom of trade union activities and those things. But everything are subject to some limitations. That is also comes under the section, I mean, Article 17 of the 15 of the Constitution. 15 of the Constitution. So, sometime, now don't you think as a layman, as he said, at this kind of situation, when there is a pandemic situation, all the people are coming to the streets and doing many kind of protest and then spread these diseases and things like that. So is it reasonable?
Is it
What is-
reasonable
what
to
is-
have celebrations to
reasonable?
welcome a minister?
That is wrong.
That's
That is
also
wrong.
But you're only seeing action taken
I'm
against
not a
one.
political man. I say whatever the action, if the
But
action is
the
wrong,
action
that is
is
wrong.
only being taken against the dissenters, not the supporters.
Now, supporters are not going against the government or any other institution.
So that is
always
wrong.
So you're saying
descendants.
that people who
Always the
express
descendants.
dissent are not
But
part of the public.
descendants are accepted if they are within the limitation.
So
There
Tisat,
are
now-
four corners of this.
Now, listening to Mr. De Silva and also Gamini.
Otherwise, this is not a civilized country.
No.
Otherwise, I mean, it is like a,
Whether or not the government is exercising civic rights of individuals is a big question mark at the moment. However, given the fact what you all told right now, both of them seem to be in agreement with the implementation of the system, saying that what happened with regard to the individuals who were taken to the quarantine centers was wrong. That's not the way to handle it. In your opinion, Tisat, now, when the government, before relaxing these regulations 2 days ago, as Mr. De Silva said, about 150 people being allowed to attend a wedding, so on and so forth, they allowed spas to operate, where people are very close to each other, because you can't do a spa treatment standing
6 feet away.
6 feet away. You have to be very close. There is no social distancing whatsoever there.
You can't keep 1 meter distance.
Yeah, you can't keep 1 meter distance there. So I'm trying to figure out what was the government's thinking. You don't allow a protest march, which is a right through the constitution of the country, to happen. However, spas are okay to operate. What's this logic, Tisat?
The logic, of course, I can't understand. I don't think many of us can't understand why have they banned protest and open spas.
there is no ban.
Is it because the government was scared that there will be a lot of protests against the fertilizer issue in the country?
That must be the reason, because if you see the guidelines issued by the Director General of Health Services, banning the protest in the pretext that it will help to spread the virus, the COVID-19. That guideline is violates the fundamental rights of the people, which is guaranteed by Article 14(1)(a). The 14(1)(a) says that the people have the freedom for expression. Right? And
Mr. Tisat, who is accountable for these decisions? Is it the Director General of Health Services who issued this directive? Is it the Minister of Law and Order? Is it the IGP? Is it the
Minister of Justice.
the Minister of Justice, or is it the President or the Prime Minister, or is it the individual police officers? Were they acting on their own volition?
Or
Who's
was it-
responsible?
Or was it advisors to the Ministry of Justice?
these guidelines are issued by the Director General of Health Services. That power is given to the Director General of Health Services by the Health Minister, by regulations. So whatever the decisions taken up by the Director General of Health Services, the Health Minister is also equally responsible. Then when it comes to the act of the police officers, no one can say that the individual police officer is only the individual police officer is responsible for that, for his action. The senior officers, IGP and the minister, all are responsible.
So who is going to hold them responsible? Dr. Mendis, if I may ask you now, if we look at not just in Westminster parliamentary tradition, but also in several republics. You have in the legislature you have your committees, oversight committees and supervisory committees, etc. That they are responsible for supervising public officials to make sure that legislation, constitution, policy is being implemented the way it's intended. But even from the opposition, we are yet to see calls from opposition MPs to have either the IGP summoned to Parliament to answer these questions, or to summon the Director General of Health Services to Parliament, to committee, to in the public domain, because these sessions are now televised as well, to answer for these violations of the public's fundamental rights. Do you feel that there is no coordination or no understanding of systems of governance even amongst the opposition?
You see, very clearly, the answer to the question as to who is responsible for disciplining elements that the government controls, the government is responsible. The government is responsible for governance. You can't be blaming Tom, Dick and Harry. You can't be blaming that institution and this institution. The elements of a system should work together for the common good. A very basic understanding.
But Dr. Mendes, the opposition is also part of the system. Like my specific, coming to the specific question on opposition MPs and their responsibility to hold public officials accountable as well.
Yes. Now, the most fundamental matter in a democracy is that the government elected by the people should always be responsible for the due process of law, for the processes of governance, and the institutions that are responsible for disciplined governance of a country. Accountability in governance, a fundamental principle. Now, that principle basically is violated. The government cannot understand that this is a democratic government. They do not obviously understand that they are a government elected by the people and should always be responsible to the people. They do not understand from whom they got the mandate. They have failed in the process of governance. They have set the wrong example for their own institutions. Their apathy and indifference to the processes of governance makes Sri Lanka a very dangerous country to live in. Of course, we are not going to run away from this country like some magicians who have come back to save the country, run away, right? We do not run away from the country.
Yeah, opposition MPs are not using the tools available to them to ensure that there is accountability. Outside of speaking, outside of pontificating on public stages and in front of the media and at press conferences, we don't see opposition MPs also, at least I haven't, to the best of my knowledge, as far as I know, I haven't seen opposition MPs actually exercising their power as public representatives to use the tools available to them to keep these officials accountable. And that also encourages these officials to continue to act with impunity.
Now, what is the, in answering that question very clearly, what is the first piece of legislation, the constitutional, think in terms of constitutional amendments. What is the nature of the first constitutional amendment that was brought by Gotabaya Rajapaksa government? The 20th amendment to the Constitution. What is the intention of this constitutional amendment? Is it to ensure responsible governance, or is it to create a culture of impunity in this country? To take the law into their own hands and do whatever they please to do. Now, that is a system within which the government and the opposition, the people, have to live. They have created, I believe, the 2/3 of members of parliament who have voted for the 20th amendment to the Constitution either do not know the significance of fundamentals of democracy, if they really knew the fundamentals of democracy, including so-called law professors, if they knew the significance of what they have passed, well, I don't think. I still wish to believe that they were compelled to act against their conscience. They were compelled to act against their conscience. No one in the right mind would have supported a constitutional amendment that takes away accountability in governance, enabling the president to centralize all powers, to appoint judges of the Supreme Court and members of independent commissions.
But Dr. Mendes, by your logic,
independent commissions on the president.
By your logic, that means that even those individuals way back in 1978 who were in parliament that supported the passage of the 1978 constitution were also acting against their conscience, because that's the 1978 constitution with the, the executive presidency we have now is not as powerful as the executive presidency that was wielded by J.R. Jayawardena in 78. So are those individuals have also acted against their, because you asked me like example of people acting against their conscience. I mean, our parliament is basically a history of people acting against their conscience.
I fully agree. I fully agree with you that in independent Sri Lanka, from the first parliament to the present parliament, very unfortunately, it's so pathetic that members of parliament elected by the people and the people themselves have not been responsible with regard to the way a democracy should function. That is for sure. There's no dispute about it. I do not want to give any character certificate to any government that had been there since independence, very clearly. But what is of significance is what is happening right now. What is happening right now? Because the people, 6.9 million, unprecedented voter population, mandated a government, mandated a president, in order to ensure decency in governance.
But Dr. What is happening right now is a result of what has happened for so long. The reason that you're able to persist with this culture is because the standard of accountability that is, it's written into the law. It's not that it's not there in the law. The law says that this is the standard. The problem is that when it comes to implementation, it's nowhere, not even close. Whether it's with even in parliament, they violate standing orders of parliament on a, like they're on a roller coaster.
Yes, yes.
So there's absolutely no respect for written law in any of the institutions, the major institutions in this country that are supposed to uphold and promote democracy. So this is it's a snowball that keeps growing, and that impunity is only increasing. I mean, even if you take the issue of presidential pardons, right now, because of recent high-profile pardons, we've focused a lot of attention for it. But this has been happening for a long time, even before the 78 Constitution. In 1969, when a high-profile politician was implicated in an acid attack, the then Prime Minister, despite this high-profile politician being from the opposition at the time, intervened to have him taken off. So this culture is not something that cropped up after Gotabaya Rajapaksa was elected, or even after Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected. This is something that we have been tolerating and enabling for a very long time. Don't you agree, Dr. Mendes?
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. The people who found those governments not tolerable defeated and sent those governments home. They defeated them decisively. We have to talk about what is happening at present. What's the use of talking?
Have gatherings. However,
No, I didn't say.
However,
okay.
yeah.
I say supporters are not
no,
coming to protest.
But however, those
Supporters are not coming to the protest.
But those who are protesting have to be in the legal framework.
No.
That's not
whoever
right. No.
come to protest only
But that's not
must go through the legal legal procedure.
But that's not implemented in the law.
Now again, I'm telling you, you are trying to twist it again.
I'm not
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Be reasonable.
No.
Now, protestant are the people who are coming, but they are identified as against.
Every single time I pose a question to you, and if you are trying to say that I'm going to twist
No, no,
those
no, no.
words, whatever
No.
you're trying to say,
If
then
the
this is not
supporter,
going to
now,
work.
for an example,
Yeah, so
I am a
we have to-
supporter.
we- no,
I
we
will
have
say,
to- first of
I am a
all,
supporter. I
let's-
don't want to go to the street
let's-
and say that I am a supporter. But if I am not support only,
So
they
when
will come
so
to the
you're
street.
trying to say, what you're trying to say is, when someone is holding a rally in support of the government, it's fine.
No,
then
it's not fine.
it's not fine.
It's not fine.
However,
If they come
you
and-
said, no,
if
you
they
said
come-
that's fine. However, those protesters who are going against the government, they have to be in the legal framework.
Now give me one example who has come forward to say that they are support in a gathering. Tell me.
Basil Rajapaksa's entry to parliament on that day.
That's
Go
an
to
individual.
Gampaha.
That's an
If you went
individual
to
action.
Gampaha, you would have
That's
seen
an
this
individual
gathering.
action that is
This
against.
is not about twisting words. This
No,
is
no,
the
no,
facts.
no. That is not a protest. That is.
That is in support of a high-profile member of the
Right,
Rajapaksa
We'll come to
family.
that point. Support of an
Then it's
individual.
fine.
Support of an individual.
That is okay.
No, I am not telling that.
Then okay.
I'm not telling
You're
that.
not saying that.
No, no.
But what are you trying to say then?
So, if there is any violation of the regulations, then there is a law. You have to act accordingly. That has to be done.
Mr. Pereira, I want to intervene there
That
and
has
ask
to be
you.
done.
I want to ask you a question.
Irrespective of who is the person there.
I want to ask you a
irrespective of
question
whether it's-
before I.
Otherwise, we
whether it's
cannot
the-
intact the law and order in this
Whether
country.
it's the president's brother or prime minister's brother, whether it's someone else's brother, it's fine. The law has to be implemented. I
Law
respect
is
that.
there. Law is there.
Yeah.
Law is
No, no,
there.
I
Law
respect
is
that thought
intact.
of yours. Yes.
Law is intact.
Mr. Pereira, I want to intervene and ask you a question based on your opening remarks. You said that sometimes violators of traffic law are not caught by the police. And before these regulations were relaxed, there was a ban on, let's say there was a ban on public gatherings. But at the same time, there was an entry of a politician into parliament. And we saw widespread gatherings island-wide, not just in the Gampaha district. Even at times in the northern territories, we saw gatherings, people having milk rice, people shaking hands, zero adherence to quarantine regulations. But at the same time, there was a peaceful gathering in Colombo of state workers or whatnot. But the police come, they intervene, and they take them to courts, direct them to quarantine, whatnot. So do you think the law is being enacted selectively, or the police just didn't seem to notice that there were people celebrating a parliamentarian's entry, a person's entry into parliament?
Yeah, very interesting. Now, whatever the celebrations of their personal opinion, but at the same time, if they gather within the limits of their families or whatever, sometimes it might not be a violation of the quarantine regulation. That I don't know how many people gathered, how many people, I never see these kind of things. But anyway, since you are saying that, but if there is any violation, yes, the police has to act. There is no difference between whether it is against the government or in support of the government. Law is very clear. What I am telling is, I am not a politician. Again, I am saying I am not in a bias to anyone. But if there is a violation if there is a violation, if there is a rule or the law, that has to be implemented against those person who violated. If something not happen, yes, there is another step, another procedure to bring this matter into the notice of the responsible people. I don't know whether it has been done.
So which brings me to my next question. Based on extraordinary gazettes issued by the Minister of Health, she has classified a proper authority for enacting these regulations, and that is the Director General of Health Services. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm asking you as a learned gentleman in that particular sphere. As a layman, I'm asking if the Director General of Health Services has empowered the Director, I beg your pardon, if the Minister of Health has empowered the Director General of Health Services as the proper authority who can restrict the movement of people and also take decisions regarding sending people to quarantine, how did the Director General of Health Services empower the police to carry out that duty?
No.
Don't the PHIs have to intervene?
There is a gazette,
Right.
notification.
Subsequently,
Okay.
where to implement that, the Director General can't go there and implement.
Therefore,
so
they
for
have-
that purpose, they have to get the services of PHI as well as the police.
Police.
So that is how it goes. That's why
Assistance of the police.
That's why I told you that if the PHI is of the view that there is a person among the gathering, the COVID patient, and then they can say the others are close people, then they should be sent to the quarantine center. That is the normal
Silva,
way of doing it.
Mr. Silva, I don't agree with you on that because there was one of my staff members who works with me, a colleague of mine, who was tested positive for COVID at the KDU.
Bill.
As a result of that, what happened was he's still at home. He's not been sent to a quarantine center.
That's why I am informing you. The PHI can take a decision whether he should be there on his own and with it.
It is not right for the police to take these individuals who protested against the government to a quarantine center in Muleki.
No, police are not bringing them. Police are not bringing them.
That's what I'm telling
Then
you.
who's taking them?
Without
Ramli,
the,
you have-
without
did you see
the
the footage?
sanction of the PHI,
No, but
the
did you
police
see the
cannot do
footage?
it.
But did you see the footage?
So
who
who
has-
has,
so who has
told you that
taken
they
these
have
people
done
to-
wrong
these
thing.
are so-
So that is how I told
They-
you
they-
that they have done a wrong thing.
Yeah, but they were not taken.
No, now
on
you
their
are
own
not
accord.
talking about SJP having a protest and they were not arrested. So they were doing it in a proper way. We
but
saw the
that
footages.
happened. No, but that happened on the day. The
Same day.
No, not on the same day. The regulations were not relaxed.
That's right. That's what I'm
Because
telling
they
you.
were
So
parliamentarians. They were parliamentarians. They did not.
No, that is not. When we see that, that is different of opinion, of course. When we see it, they were doing it
Silva.
in a proper way. That is the very
Spas
reason
are
they were.
open, Mr. De Silva.
No, that is not
Spas are
correct.
open and protests can't be held. What logic is that,
But
Mr. De Silva? Spas are open.
spas.
Then how can
Spas are open. Then
how can the SGP have in their
So
protest?
that's what I'm saying. Spas are open.
No, you are talking about small things
No,
that are they are.
It may,
but
be,
they-
it may be a small thing, but the government can't do that, Mr.
But anyway,
Silva. They have a right to go out there and protest.
I think, Shamil, you are particular about this spa thing. So there should be some sort of jealousy also. But anyhow,
I am jealous.
STP
I am
had that.
jealous.
And
I'm
even
jealous.
The, even
I'm
the
jealous.
JVP,
Mr. Silva, I
they
am
had
jealous.
that.
You want to know why I'm jealous?
That's
I'm
right.
jealous because the government is bending the law based on their women
Not
fancy.
bending, they are relaxing the law.
And relaxing the law, bending the law based on their women fancy, and the normal layman can't get advantage out of it.
Why?
It's not about going to a
They
spa
have
or
been
not. It's
given
about
the
making
opportunity
sure
to work
people
in various
can exercise
places.
their franchise without a problem. Go and protest against the government. if they
People
want.
who have
Can I-
not
can I
gone to
intervene with
work.
this?
Yeah.
Can I intervene with?
Yeah.
Now, spa, take a spa. I mean, I don't know how it's operating, but
Gamin,
anyway,
just correct. This is not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
what the opposition party.
I know, yes.
No,
Now,
I just
spa,
want it to be very
for
clear.
a spa, how many people can go there per day,
Mr. De Silva.
right? But
Where is
anyway,
social distance?
when
No,
it-
forget
when
about
the
this. Right?
temple is
There
open,
are three
when the temple
regulations.
is open-
There are three regulations that are brought forward. What are these three regulations that are brought forward by the health of officials?
Why?
Wear a mask.
Yes.
Wash your hands. Maintain social distancing.
Yes.
Where is social distancing at a spa? Tell me.
Where is social distancing at the barber's place? Then
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. That is what we're trying to say.
simultaneously,
That is what we're trying to say.
These regulations for both, not only to
And
spa.
by appointment only.
Mr. Gandhi, it
And
seems
all
like
such
you are in agreement that these regulations are completely illogical.
No.
No.
No, it's not illogical. It's not illogical.
Because I agree with you.
What
What about the barber as well?
No.
What about the barber?
No, barber's place,
Yeah.
you have to go there. Only one person can
By
enter
appointment only.
at one point.
But doesn't matter. That second one,
The
where
same
the
way,
physical
the same
distance
way,
is not
the
there.
spa, only one person. You don't want to, I mean, categorize spa is a kind of a...
Mr.
I
Gandhi,
don't know how sure are you about one person or two
Four
people
people
going
in
there.
an
one person.
enclosed place
Only
versus
one person.
20 people in an open
Now,
area.
it is
is very
specifically there by appointment only
by
one
appointment
person
only
can
one
go.
person can go.
But is there
Yeah.
social distancing? No, let's
No,
forget about
you are
everything.
talking about social. When
No, I am
so-
not.
No, no,
Mr.
no, no.
Mr. De Silva,
He-
I am not talking.
You are talking about on behalf of the opposition.
No, I am not
Then-
talking. I'm
now,
not
who
talking about on behalf of the
informed you
opposition. I am telling what the health officials are saying. Health officials are saying maintain social distance. Now see, we are having a meters distance both of us.
So
why?
there is no distance here.
There is a distance. Why is that? Is because this is a health.
You are not wearing a mask then.
I can't wear a mask because I have to be clear to the public.
That's what I'm
You are not
telling
wearing
you.
a mask.
There
either.
are exceptions
Yeah,
where
but the
if
exceptions
you
can't be when
adhere
you
to
hold a protest.
other things,
When you hold
then
a
of course
protest,
no problem.
When you hold a protest, Mr. De Silva, you can't say I'm selecting
No,
individuals.
protesting, I am
and
not
putting them
telling you that
behind,
protesting is
a quarantine
illegal.
center. That
But
is
if
not
you are
fair.
going beyond the limits of the law, then of course it is illegal. Otherwise, they can have the protest. On the beginning, I said in this situation also, if they adhere to the law, then like SGP, so then they have SGP, they have done it. You know, we saw the footages, and then JVP also done it. So nobody was arrested.
Tisat, now interesting thoughts. Now, Gamini and Mr. De Silva are of the opinion that the implementation of the law is wrong. There has been deficiencies there.
I'm a little bit different in that.
Yeah, no, but
I don't say implementation is wrong. I say if it is not implemented, it is wrong.
Yeah. However, so basically what both are trying to say is there is an issue. However, the government's illogical thinking about putting regulations based on the women fancy, is that the way to go about to combat this problem, COVID-19? Now, we know as we speak, Sydney is recording a high number of COVID patients at the moment. Issues there. So the city has been on a complete lockdown at the moment as we speak. New Zealand is one of the countries that has combated COVID-19 very well. Take a look at England. Yesterday we saw 67,000 people were gathered at one location.
That's only one location.
At one location.
All over the country.
All over the country.
How
and even
many?
in Italy.
Pubs.
There were a lot of people. So they have combated this problem very well. We are far from that. However, we have appointed individuals thinking that they will combat this problem. I don't understand how it's going to be done.
35,000 per day in England.
Yeah.
And today it is more.
Yeah.
It is not combated yet.
Yeah, but
that is the next wave.
Yeah, but however,
having that, they have given the pleasure to the public to enjoy in the football.
If you keep on giving the pleasure to the public, Gamini, then of course we'll have a problem.
No,
we won't be able to combat this problem.
But the mechanism is vaccination.
Yeah.
So here is the same thing happened now.
Has the government done the right thing, Tisat, in your opinion?
Vaccination.
In my opinion, government has not done the right thing. I think even the lockdown they effected about 1 month ago, that was not done properly. The most of the places are open, and general public was on the road. We could see in the television that so many vehicles entered the city when the lockdown was in operation. But still, for some reason, maybe the economic reason, they opened up the country.
Yeah.
As you said, when they were opening up the country, also the regulations they made to open up the country were not logical. As you said, spas are open where you can't keep 1 meter distance. And as Mr. Gamini Pera said, it's even the salons, which are open where you can't keep 1 meter distance. And they were worried only about the government was worried only about the protest. Now even the weddings can be, you can have weddings, restrict the number to 100 to 150. 150. And most of the public places, every office is open now. So I don't think that the government is on the correct track. Now, when it comes to vaccination program should have been planned at least in last November. When this matter was taken up in the parliament by the opposition leader, the vaccination program, they laughed at the opposition leader. That it was not necessary.
Yes.
If they started at that time, if they started purchasing the vaccination at that time, then we would have spent less money and done the vaccination by this time, and we would have opened the country. Now, for example, the schools we can't open. The children are at home almost for 1 year. But you had to now, as parents, we are worried about their mental situation, because they are not enjoying their childhood.
Yeah. So, Mr. De Silva, you're sure that there are no any high-profile weddings in the next few days, right? Because
We have to wait and see.
because that regulation has been relaxed.
So now the problem is,
No, that
if
has
the
been
government is
regulated.
going to relax, you say it is relaxed now, it's a problem. And my learned friend also stated like,
Yeah.
if they are not doing so, they say, what is the reason of that? They are not doing it. People are suffering. Why you are doing it? And the country is going down like that. It is very easy.
Who said
Now,
so?
who are the
said-
people?
Who's against a lockdown, Mr. Silva?
The earlier opposition was coming out with the story that the government should not do that, and thereafter, if the lockdown is there,
who in the
I can't
No,
tell
when did
you
the
the
opposition
individual.
say that?
when did
I
the opposition
never
say
heard
that?
the opposition saying that.
Now how can they come out and criticize the government? They know what happened in the Easter bomb attack, Easter Sunday attack. So what have they were doing?
Under attack and
Now my learned friend when he says that we
is
will
two different
forget
issues,
the
no?
past and we
No, I
will
didn't
talk
say
about
forget the past.
present situation. Now the
Mr. Silva,
problem is,
COVID-19 and Easter tax, two
We didn't
different
say
issues.
that.
no, you can't say two different ways. These are,
I said
it's
learn
a
from-
global thing. That's that's a individual. I mean, our country was suffering at that point, but here of the global thing, you must understand.
Pandemic.
In various countries, they have started vaccination. Then subsequently, they say our people also getting coronavirus again. So what is the third or fourth wave? Likewise, it is going. So we have to live with it. No, that is why I say you can't shut down everything and be there inside. But definitely it should be done in a proper way, step by step. You are doing it. So last week it was not relaxed, and now 2 days ago it was relaxed. Now once it is relaxed, you come and say, now you have given opportunity to have wedding. Is there any political person's wedding?
No, I didn't say political. I said high profile.
High profile. You are going more than that.
Yeah.
High profile person's wedding. So that is easily you can criticize those things. But the government is allowing the people to go there and enjoy themselves. It should be there. Otherwise, how can
Right.
we
Mr. Silva, let's-
ask them to be there at home?
Mr.
Mr. Silva, I
let's
don't think the
yeah.
problem. I don't think the problem is that the government shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, because it is a complex situation dealing with the pandemic. There has been a lot of trial and error. I think the problem is not that the government shouldn't do this or the government shouldn't do that, or they should do this and they should do that. The problem is that the government seems to be taking these decisions based on the motivations of a privileged few, based on the needs of a privileged few. We are going to do this not because it's the right thing to do, but because this is what this person wants me to do. This is what this VIP has asked me to do. This is what this society luminary wants me to do. It's not it seems that the government is not acting in the best interests of the people. And when I say the people, not just the 6.9 million people that voted for the government, all 22 million people in the
that's
country.
right. Yeah. You can't.
That
give it
is
to 69
that is what it looks like.
No, that is your opinion. I quite appreciate that fact. You have every right to have the opinion in your own way. That it is a fundamental right. That's a different matter. But you have to be vigilant and positive. Positive thinking is important.
But
every time
Mr.
you are
Silva.
talking a negative thing,
No, Mr.
why
Silva.
can't you come out with positive thing? Up to now, according to the opposition, always criticizing, but no positive thing.
Mr. Silva.
But the country is going forward.
Mr.
That
Silva.
is how we
No,
say,
there was
you all are saying
there was-
that unnecessarily,
there was-
don't criticize. Constructive
But
criticism.
since you asked me positive, I'll tell you a positive thing. I think it's excellent that the president has put his foot down to the CEB and said, no, there is not going to be any coal power plants in the future. However, I do want to wait for at least 14 days to see if
whether it will be reversed. So, no, that is why you say, that by saying that also, you have your reservation. Don't do that. We'll wait and see. Don't come out
I have to
with
go
that.
by history, Mr. De Silva.
Mr. Silva, a few months ago, when we spoke about Basil Rajapaksa, you said he's not going to come into parliament.
Yeah, at that point, I told you, no.
Several months after he came into parliament.
That's right.
whatever
Oh,
you are
why- what
saying,
is the- what
we
is
have
the
to
wrong
take
with
a pinch
that?
of salt.
Huh?
Anyway, whatever you are saying, Mr. De Silva, we might have to take the pinch of salt. Now let's talk about Basil Rajapaksa's entry to parliament, will you?
Yeah.
Now we have a big issue. What is the biggest issue that we are facing right now as a nation? About having foreign exchange reserves.
That's right, yeah.
One of the biggest issues, economically we are down. how is Basil Rajapaksa's entry going to help us accumulate foreign currency?
So how can I say that? Because anybody can't say
You
about that.
said that he's
can't-
going to take firm stand.
no, that is
So
why
in your opening remarks, you said that they
I
will
am a
take firm
positive
stand.
person. I believe having past record is there also. I told you with regard to Dibinaguma how those people criticize that and they file cases also. But unfortunately, what happened? It's still there. No, they can't prove it. That is why I'm telling you, now with that past history, I am of the view that he can do something. What are the things that he is going to implement? Of course, we have to wait and see. That is, he will decide with after discussing with authorities, he will come out with suggestions. So we'll
Dr.
wait
Mendes,
and see.
So Dr. Mendes, now is Basil Rajapaksa going to have a magic wand to take us to the next pedestal as far as the country's economy is concerned? Because we've had panelists on the show saying that it's high time that Sri Lanka is going to default these interest payments in the future. It's high time. It's almost, we are on the verge of it. So we are in a situation, a precarious situation at the moment. Do you think that Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa is going to have a magic wand? Because we've heard these words from former State Minister of Finance Ajit Niwad Kabral as well about having a magic wand. So I want to know whether Basil Rajapaksa will have a magic wand to take us or elevate us economically to the next level.
It's so surprising that the people have such short memory. This same, I really don't know. I feel so sorry that we have to talk about Mr. Basil Rajapaksa over and over again. As far as I understand, Mr. Basil Rajapaksa is an insignificant political personality, because this same gentleman was a Minister of Economic Affairs.
That is past.
In the 2010 to 15.
That is past.
So
Now he is digging the past. Digging the past.
What I'm saying is,
So
True.
don't come
Digging
out
the
with
past.
those things.
But
Saying
no,
that you don't dig in the past,
person
he come to the
was
past.
not even prepared to own up his failures and ran away from this country
Now he's a
on the
different
day
person.
of the presidential
Different
election.
person. He's past.
If you are
No,
trying
you
to
are
tell me,
talking wrong,
if you are
Rafi.
trying to tell me that he has become such a, you see, he is now full of wisdom, right? Okay, let's give him a chance. Sure, we'll give him a chance. But I really don't know. I told you that
Dr.
no one in
Mendes,
this country
he's the
ever
national
mandated a
organizer
Basil
of a
Rajapaksa
party
in the first
that
place.
he's the national organizer of a party
He
that
can
sort of
be
stormed into government
national
less than 3
organizer
years
or
after this.
disorganizer.
I mean, he clearly has some skills.
That's right.
Well, okay. But you see, with all his skill, they were defeated in 2015 as a campaign manager, right? He ran away from this country, right? If he was such a good, excellent, not good, excellent economic manager, they would have been defeated in 2015. The person who was
He
defeated
said
in
short
2015
memory of the people.
and the economic
People have
affairs
short
minister
memory, that he said.
who could not prove, who could not
The same
prove
memory
his capacity
operated,
is
yeah.
now brought back by people who are mandated. Who was mandated? Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was mandated to be the leader of this country, not Basil Rajapaksa, who ran away from this country. Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was given a mandate.
But Dr. Mendes,
Now
the
the whole
reality
government admits.
when you speak about mandate, I mean the reality is if the constitutional prohibition wasn't there, Mr. Basil Rajapaksa would have probably contested the parliamentary election, and judging by some of the reception, the parties that he had, which should not have been allowed, he would possibly have been elected, maybe even top the list. So that mandate, it does exist, wouldn't you say, amongst the 6.9 million?
You see, in this election, the 6 point, it is now we are talking about a person called Basil Rajapaksa. The people, as I told you, did not vote for Basil Rajapaksa. The Prime Minister and the President.
But they
Prime
voted
Minister,
for the
veteran-
SLPP,
Veteran
and-
leader who was twice president of this country, and the brother Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who got a mandate. 6.9 million people did not vote for anyone. They wanted this gentleman, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, to convincingly prove that he is a bright leader. But they have all admitted they have failed. Even the junior parliamentarian says if Mr. Basil Rajapaksa was there, none of these debacles would have been there.
Yeah, Dr. Mendes, does the opposition fear the entry of Basil Rajapaksa to parliament, and subsequently he may contest the 2024 elections as a presidential candidate from the SLPP? Does that fear psychosis engulf the SLPP or the SJB?
Why should especially a man like Sajith Premadasa worry about Basil Rajapaksa? What for?
Why not?
What for?
Why not?
Well, you know, what has he? I told you.
Because he
We
led
are
the
trying to
campaign
say-
that defeated him at the presidential election.
We are trying to say that this is an outstanding man, specifically an outstanding, excellent economic manager. He's not. A man who was,
Forget
that
about
regime.
No, forget
If
about
he was
economic.
in charge of the economy.
Let's forget about the economic manager and let's forget about that for a moment.
Then what
As a
was he?
political
As
personality.
political personality, what is your thought? Now, him coming in, the Rajapaksa brothers have been holding power for nearly 2 decades now. With this 2024 elections, if they win, so does that send in a fear psychosis or shivers down the spine of the SJB?
Why should it create any any upheaval in a formidable opposition party like this?
Dr. Mendes, who is going to be the 2024 presidential candidate of the SJB?
Mr. Sajith Premadasa, the undisputed leader of the SJB.
We see.
Is anyone questioning the leadership?
Why not?
You see, of Sajith Premadasa.
Why not? Why not? They are, if they are talking
not
about
face,
joint,
but okay.
joint party collusion, then I don't think Sajith Premadasa will come in as the president of the candidate. So I don't think it is. Now my learned friend can dream about that. That's a different man. Unfortunately, when we talk about past, he says no, don't talk about past. Now for his all this time, he was talking about the past, but he can't remember what happened to Royal Park incident. Who gave pardon to the Royal Park incident? Accused for go away. Then what happened to Easter Sunday? Those matters they say. What happened to the IG appointed? Now he is being charged at a trial at bar. So what happened though? Who appointed that?
Let me correct my learned friend. I have the highest respect for
Yes,
you.
I also have.
Did I ever say we should forget the past? Or did I say we should learn from the past? We should learn from the past.
Both.
And that
said
is
both.
what I
Both,
said.
yes.
You said both,
Right?
yes.
We should learn from the past. And we have a leader elected by the people.
So now we know
build
2024
a
presidential
better
election.
political order.
Now we know
Yes, he declared it.
2024 presidential election, Sajith Premadasa may contest.
Yes.
2024,
contest.
2024 presidential election, who is going to contest from the SLPP?
Why? Same
Who?
person who is there now.
Who is the same
Now he says 6.5.
Who is the same? Zilma, tell us. I don't know. Now you are telling me same person.
No,
There are
I will
same
tell you.
people in the
Now at
SLPP
the
or not?
moment,
Basil
there is no
Rajapaksa, Gotabaya
dispute.
Rajapaksa, Mahinda
Wait,
Rajapaksa.
at the
decided
moment,
yet.
there is no dispute that the
premature.
president has the power for to go and have the election in 2 times. So he has the every power. He will decide on that. We can't say. We also feel that, as my learned friend quite correctly pointed out, 6.9 million have appointed as a leader. As a leader, he has taken the correct decision by asking Basil Rajapaksa to come into the parliament. I must say that.
Mr.
And then as far as the fertilizer is concerned,
just want
he
to
has
ask you
taken the
about
correct
Mr. Disilla,
decision.
Mr. Disilla.
And then the other one is power plant.
Mr.
He
Disilla.
has taken the correct decision.
Mr. Disilla, if I may ask you, now you are so confident about the appointment of Basil Rajapaksa into this ministerial position, but doesn't it look very odd? And in the eyes of the people, the government was clearly making ad hoc decisions that are obvious to anyone that our decisions should not be made. For example, the fertilizer thing, anyone knows that without a proper stock of organic fertilizer in the country, you can't just ban the importation of chemical fertilizer. So that decision seems to be deliberately made to make the government look incompetent. And in a scenario like this,
doesn't it look odd that suddenly Basil Rajapaksa comes into this scenario to look like a hero? No. So isn't he being groomed for the 2024 presidential election?
No, you can say that you have every opportunity to say
No,
that.
we are not saying that.
No.
You know,
Who is saying that?
Pretty evident.
how
The
many
people in the
ministers, how
country-
many parliamentarians are
That
saying that
is why
from
I say they can express their
Professor
view.
Ranjit
So
Bandara
far,
said
Basil Rajapaksa has not declared
No,
that.
but Professor Ranjit Bandar has said, now you are saying that it's Nisal's opinion. It's not Nisal's opinion.
It's the people's
It's the
opinion.
people.
That's what I'm telling you now.
It's a
What
people.
he asked was whether it is correct to change the decision taken by the president to ban the fertilizer.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it looks like the government has set a stage for Basil Rajapaksa to come in to look like the good guy so that he'll have a chance at the 2024 election. That's what I'm
You
saying.
can interpret in that way. But the fact remains, President categorically stated, this is not a sudden decision. This was there in his manifesto, as well as earlier also, they were discussing this. But nobody was coming forward to implement that. So he has taken a decision. Somebody should take a decision. That is why my learned friend has stated 6.9 million have decided or had a faith with regard to the leader. So that leader, having taken the leadership, and then amendment of the 20th amendment also, when it is debated, they said that our judiciary will in a problem. They will appoint whatever he wants.
Mr.
How?
Silva.
Tell me any appointment is wrong?
I know,
there
but
is
then
no.
why
Silva,
isn't his
Mr.
appointment?
Silva, it's not about whether the appointment is right or wrong.
Why?
There is no question about
That is what the worry you had.
No,
you were asking.
I'm
whether he was
asking
going
you.
to appoint.
I'll tell you a classic example. Minister of Finance. In your opinion, what are the qualifications a Minister of Finance should hold?
Minister of Finance.
No, in any country. No, forget about Sri Lanka. Forget
Right.
about Sri Lanka.
Yes.
If you are the president of this country, Mr. De Silva, hypothetically, let's say, who would you appoint as a Minister of Justice and who would you appoint as a Minister of Finance?
Correct people were appointed at this age. You can decide whatever.
No,
you
no,
want.
no, no.
I will be there. I am going to appoint a person like that. And for
Person
the,
like who?
person like Ali Sabri for the Justice Ministry.
And
because
who,
I work
who would
with
you
him,
appoint for
I
the Minister
know
of
him.
Finance? Who would you appoint for the
That's
Minister of
right.
Finance?
Now, as I
See,
told you,
now, Mr. De
having,
Silva, you don't have any answer.
no, I have the answer. I was say why I come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Past record, as I quite correctly pointed out, he has the past record of doing things in the past government 2015. That is not the reason they were defeated. There were some other reason which we don't want to discuss. But at the same time, he showed to the world that within few years' time, we were able to come forward as a new party
But
to power.
don't you think?
Those are the qualities.
Don't you think a Minister of Finance in any country should at least be qualified? Now, let's say Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa is an attorney at law.
Sirimau Bandaranaike, as she qualified when she became the president, when she became the prime minister. No, because she has all the experience.
Even Ranasinghe Premadasa was a
That's
street
right.
smart
So
person.
then how can you say that?
No, but
One person who
Ranasinghe
has the
Premadasa,
caliber.
who was the head of the state, appointed people alongside him, individuals like Gamini Disanayak, individuals like Lalita Pramudali,
So he-
as individuals who would take his cabinet forward.
That's right.
Look at this cabinet.
You are predicting that, or look at
I
the
am not
cabinet.
predicting,
No,
these
no,
are
who
facts.
is it? No, that is Shamil, that is your opinion.
No, it is not an
6.9
opinion.
million are there. Few people, they come to the
not about
media,
6.9
they are
million
talking about
people.
various
Mr.
things.
De Silva,
I
it's
also
not
have
about-
my criticism.
it's not
That's a different matter.
So
But
you
the
have the
fact remains-
criticism.
Yes, but I am not going to say yes to everything that they are doing. But the fact remains, we must not go beyond our limit by criticizing everything. We must have constructive criticism, and even we must be able to think positively and see we
Tisat,
must help the government to proceed further.
Tisat,
Which,
don't-
as you quite correctly pointed out, the opposition is not doing so.
Now, I will tell
they
you that-
always say
This is-
they are
I can-
criticizing.
I can give you a lot of examples. Now, Johnston Fernando said that individuals who are protesting are individuals who don't have a proper intelligence. However, Johnston Fernando was an individual who went onto the streets and toppled this government as well. So he protested, no. So that is okay with them. Anyway, that's a different story.
He also
altogether.
threw some furniture in
Yeah,
Parliament.
threw some furniture in Parliament. All that is okay. Those are okay, right? That is fine, right, Mr. De Silva?
You are talking about
No, I'm
few
a-
things,
but
but it is. But Johnson Fernando has done only that part. No, he has done several things which you are not coming out with. that is the wrong thing. What I am saying is, it is very easy to pinpoint one thing and
Corruption.
criticize that person.
Corruption.
I don't agree with. I can criticize Sajid Premadasa, which I am not going to do that, because he has the ability to go forward.
Right.
But
So,
if he
Tisat-
has the power, he can go so.
Tisat, don't criticize the government. Make sure that you work with the government to correct the track in which the Sri Lankans should walk by in the near future. Do you agree with that statement made by Mr. De Silva? Don't
Constructive criticism. I use the
No, I
word.
don't-
constructive
No,
criticism.
I don't
Right,
agree with that
Constructive criticism, you are not
opinion.
agreeing.
No, constructive criticism should be there,
Ah, right.
and the opposition is to correct the government. Whenever the government is not on the correct track, opposition is there to
them in the-
correct the government inside the parliament and outside the parliament. Now, whenever the opposition can help the government for the benefit of the people, opposition must do that. Now, for example, the present opposition is doing that. For example, with regard to this express Perth ship, which created the environmental disaster, opposition leader went to the Minister of Justice's ministry, and he joined the team that is tackling that issue, and he gave his opinion and support. But at the same time, when the law and order is violated, when the people are oppressed, the opposition must stand against it.
Mr. Tisat, if I may ask you,
Yeah.
now I think the people are very confused because we see a lot of gazette notifications being issued and critical decisions that would affect the future of the country are being made through gazette notifications, bypassing the parliament in most cases. Like for example, with this whole banning the protest issue, which is a critical infringement of article that is enshrined, a fundamental right that is enshrined in the constitution. So just to make it clear for like in layman's terms, how legally binding is a gazette notification? Like how, to what extent can they bypass parliament and make critical decisions?
Now, these gazette notifications are published under the quarantine ordinance. The minister makes the regulations. By regulations, she has given powers to the Director General of Health Services to make certain guidelines. So, Director General of Health Services make these guidelines. This is a kind of bypassing the parliament.
Yes.
But in terms of the law, right, if those guidelines violates any provisions of the constitution or any other law, right, then those guidelines become invalid.
Right. And how can they be held accountable for this?
Invalidity comes in this form. So, if somebody acts on those guidelines, and if somebody challenges those guidelines in court of law, then those guidelines will not be lawful, and court will not hold any act done under those guidelines are lawful. That is how you challenge those guidelines.
Then it comes down to the question, like, why isn't the opposition going to courts against guidelines like this?
We have, I think the opposition has gone to courts against the guidelines, especially the guidelines prohibiting the protest. The SJP has gone to courts. They have filed fundamental rights applications challenging that guideline, because that violates the freedom of expression, which is guaranteed by Article 14(1)(a) of the Constitution.
Dr. Mendis, I want to very quickly shift this conversation into a topic a lot of people have been divided on. And over the past few weeks, we saw protests also being carried out with regards to this, the KDU bill that has re-emerged. And someone representing the academia, I want your viewpoint on this. Many of the opponents of the KDU bill say that this is going to establish a military-style university, and graduates of that university will enter state and private sector jobs with a military ethos, and it might somewhat undermine the authority established through the Universities Act of 1978 and also the UGC. What is your prognosis on this matter? Are you a proponent or are you an opponent of this?
Very clearly, as an academic, all what I can see in the first place is that this country needs a very modern military. The military should be properly trained, better trained, and we have no objections whatsoever for the country having the Kuthalawala, Sir John Kuthalawala Defence Academy as one of the topmost military academies in the world, if possible. We don't have any objections to that. But we do have an objection very clearly to a military ethos driven down the throats of the people of this country. Military ethos is for the military. Military ethos is not for the people. This is a democracy, and the people need not be militarized. We have a disciplined military in this country. The current political leadership, reactionary, unreasonable political leadership, is bringing dishonor to the military, the armed forces of this land, by trying to expedite, accelerate a process of militarization. We do not blame the army, the navy, the air force for that. They are honorable men and women. But this corrupt government is trying to militarize this society, and this Kuthalawala Defence Academy is trying to, the proposed bill, which is repealing Bill number 58 of 1981, as I understand,
81,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is being repealed in order to bring a totally different structure, a structure that will penetrate into the higher education sector and even pave the way, not only apart from a military ethos being put into the civilian population, because they are trying to recruit fee levying students into the Kuthalawala Defence Academy, right, in this property that was gifted by a great philanthropist, political leader, Sir John Kuthalawala. Certainly, he had no such dangerous intentions, right? We do not want militarization as a culture embracing society.
But do you...
University grant, I'll complete the point. We respect the University Grants Commission and the Act number 1978, number 16 of 1978. The universities in this country, on behalf of the state, government universities should be coming under Act number 16 of 1978.
What is the view of the SJB on privatization of universities?
SJB is a dynamic social democratic party. We are not talking about the United National Party. We are talking about the Samagi Jana Balavegya provides a social democratic alternative which believes in a private sector, which believes in a public sector, which believes in competition between the two sectors in a disciplined manner. There's no doubt about that. Is anyone saying Mr. Sajid Premadas is against private enterprise? No. We are a modern alternative, a social democratic alternative to a neoliberal, government which believes in making profit at whatever cost.
Right. So,
selling the motherland, the lands.
So, I just want to pick the brain of Gamini and Mr. De Silva on this. What is your stand on the KDU bill?
That's right. Good that you asked that question. In fact, the Ian Wickremesinghe, Mr. Wickremesinghe, the minister, former minister, he stated during the last time regime, it was drafted. This particular act was drafted at that point. Then what this government is going to do is to go ahead with that. But as my learned friend quite correctly pointed out, UGC, Iran Wickremaratne, he in Parliament, he stated that we drafted this and we are in favor of that, but we have some amendments which we think it's correct. They have to come out with positive thinking. And then about the UGC, I also feel that we should come under that particular act. And it was stated by the Minister of Education, Mr. Professor G.L. Piris, that they are going to have those amendments. So we think that it will be done in due course,
Right.
and then thereafter we can have that.
Yeah, so I just want to get into getting back again, because this is the final question for the session, and then we are going for a short commercial break and coming back to get your final views. So, Ms. De Silva, my final question to you is, you say that the decision taken by the police department to take people from the magistrate court to quarantine centers were wrong. As a learned President's Counsel, what is the legal advice you can give these individuals who have been taken to quarantine centers and are kept by force?
No.
What must they do?
Only thing is, already
as a learner,
they have done.
counsel.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. They have done the correct path. SJP have filed several cases.
They have filed a FR petition against the holding of a peaceful protest.
That's
march.
what they will.
But what must the individuals, quarantine individuals, what action must they take? Because you're an advisor to the Minister of Justice as well. So
that's a different
whatever
matter.
you're saying,
As a lawyer,
with
with
hold a lot
20
of
years
ground.
experience, I must say, whether I am attached to the ministry is different matter. But as a lawyer, after 37 years practice, I say, firstly, the police filing a B report and asking the magistrate to do all the things that they are supposed to do is wrong. They filed the B report and asked the judge to send them to quarantine centers. They send them to prison. All these things are wrong, because these provisions that my learned friend stated to the penal code offences, those are bailable offences.
Right.
They know very well the bail can be granted. Now, by not allowing the PHI to come and give his opinion is wrong, and they can go to court and say that our fundamental rights are violated.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your thoughts. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, it's the final round. This is Face the Nation. We are discussing about the law and order situation in the country. Are we on the right track? Also, a little bit of politics as well. Tonight on Face the Nation, all this and more we just witnessed. We're going for a short commercial break. When we come back, we discuss the final thoughts of these gentlemen on the way forward for Sri Lanka. Stay connected, stay with us. We will be right back. Welcome back. This is Face the Nation. We are in the final round. We start off the final round with Dr. Mahim Mendes. Your thoughts on the way forward for Sri Lanka in terms of law and order and politics?
Very clearly, as I said, we need to learn from the past. We cannot be repeating the same mistakes over and over again. Well, with all due respect to the President of the country, we do not want the President of the country to make a mess of the country or make a mess of himself. We want him to be an inspiring leader. And there is always a better way to do things, and not quite in the way that he has done things during the past 2 years, especially with regard to rule of law. So, all what I can say is that the people of this country are burdened and feeling weary that we do not have hope. They had hope in a president. And today we believe and we know, not because we are opposing the government, we know that even the government parliamentarians find it very difficult to come before you and answer questions even in a program like Face the Nation. Now, that is because they have not done what they should have been doing. So, it is important that both the people and their mandated representatives understand the gravity of protecting the democratic way of life of the people, because we cannot be playing the fool. We cannot take lightly the unborn generations, the young people, the little children in this country. They need to live in a better country. And we all, I believe, the opposition, the government, the civil society, the professional community, we all need to take matters seriously. Good governance, when we talk about it, we can have, this word good governance makes no sense if we do not understand the need for democratic good governance. There is also something called autocratic good governance. There are countries in the world that believed in autocratic good governance. All those governments that believed in autocracy, authoritarianism, made a mockery of fundamental freedoms of the people and made a mockery of institutions of the state that were meant to perform their role independently, collapsed. There isn't one single country in the world, one single authoritarian regime in the world that could sustain itself. The only countries that sustain themselves and go for betterment of the people are the democracies. We can learn, if we are not prepared to learn from the United States or the Western world, the European Union, we should be learning from our neighboring country, India. India, comparatively, is a better democracy. So, we should make a collective pledge. We need to understand that the people are also ignorant on democracy. Unlike in some other countries, people are not educated on democracy. And of these people, we are not talking about the poverty-stricken people of the land, people in so-called professional occupations, educated men and women, do not understand the significance of democracy. They talk about democracy with an autocratic mindset.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mahim Mendes. I now move my attention to Attorney at Law, Gamini Pereira.
Yeah. Now, basically, we are talking about the government implementation and the policy decisions. That is the only way that we can go forward to serve the nation. Firstly, in this discussion, we discuss about the finance minister and how he can contribute to the development of the country. Now, I think, my opinion is, there should be direct foreign investment to this country. We have to attract direct foreign investments. That is number one. Then the exports. We have to develop, we have to increase the export. Then number three, the foreign remittance. There are foreign remittance, but with the pandemic situation, most of the foreign remittance are affected. Therefore, we have to reschedule the foreign remittance to this country. And then the very important matter, the earlier per year we earn 4.5 billion rupees from the tourism. Now, the tourism is a major point to develop this country. That is why the president has decided to stop, as he pointed out, why this chemical fertilizer were stopped at once. Now, there are policy decisions and the way of manage things. Sometimes, so we call, you have to unfreeze and then change and then freeze.
No, I want to ask you a question. I usually don't ask questions in the last round, Gamini, but I have to ask you this question.
Yes.
What is the logic? 4.5 billion in foreign
tourism earnings. Tourism earnings.
Then you said about
agriculture.
Fertilizer.
Agriculture.
What is the connection?
That is what I am going to. I'm going to merge what it is.
Yeah, please.
Now, so as a policy decision, whether you like or I like, now he has taken a decision to stop it at once. Maybe there are some critics. You have to do it within a year, within a 5 years period, and little by little or something like that. But there is a management system called, you have to unfreeze first and then change and then freeze. What the president has done for the fertilizer. Now,
I don't understand what you're saying.
that is what
let
me to explain you.
Yeah.
Let me to explain this. So when the organic fertilizers are utilized in this country, most of the countries, most of the tourists and travelers are attracted to this country as a country with food and everything with the organic, I'm sorry, not
right.
carbonic, organic.
So then what about the $2 billion that we get from tea? What about the billions of dollars that we get from rubber? Now let's take a look at rubber for an example.
Do you know?
Garmin, let's take a look at rubber for an example.
Yes.
What is the idea of chemical fertilizer being stopped to put for rubber? Are we eating rubber?
No, that is not the question. So
No, that is the question.
Why you are taking one aspect, putting out all the 99 matters aside?
No,
Come,
you're saying
first we will discuss the 99.
You're saying tourism
First we will
improve.
discuss 99.
No, but you're saying
how
tourism
many
will improve.
how
That
many
is
patients
not
are
right.
there? Kidney.
That is wrong.
How many persons are there in kidney troubles? How many hospitals are now opening for kidney failures?
No, right. Okay.
How
that
many
is the
dialysis are here?
Right. If that
How
is
many
the case,
people are
the
going to
100,000 kilos of rice that was supposed to come from overseas to Sri Lanka,
Yes.
because we have an issue, is that organic?
That of course I don't know. What I say is
Doesn't make sense, no,
now there should be some point.
I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish.
Someone has to change the system and go ahead. Now people have mandate for that. Had the mandate. I mean, the president has the mandate for that. People has voted for it, and that is why he has done it.
Right.
So the 4.5 billion tourism revenues,
Right.
I mean revenue who earn from the travelers, the tourism, can be triple if this country is
Right.
an organic country.
Right. Thank you
That
very
is
much.
the vision
Thank you
of
very
the
much.
president,
Thank you very
and
much.
that has to be implemented
Right.
some or other.
Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira. But I wish to remind you that there is nowhere in the world that any country has been 100% organic. And there is no research reports that suggest that tourism has increased as a result of being an organic country as well. I just thought I should bring
So
this to your
if you
attention.
say
because-
that, so
no,
let me to explain that
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, yeah.
There is
Very
no,
quickly, I'll give you 10 seconds.
no.
Yeah.
First,
That's not true. That's false.
you say
There is
there is no
report-
country. There is no country.
There is
Right.
no country.
Very good. Very good.
There is no reports either that says that tourism increases as a result of organic cultivation is there in the
I don't know from where you have taken this census, right? I
From
mean,
where did
I
you
think
take
this is something that you are telling.
No, no,
just
I'm
to,
not. No,
just to
no, no. I'm
icing
no,
the
no, no, no.
icing the thoughts
No, no,
you had.
no, no. I'm not. I'm just giving you.
Give me the census.
Tell me
the
one
specific-
country in the world that is 100%
No,
organic.
don't ask question from me.
Tell me one
When I ask
country-
a question from you.
In 1940s, I'll tell you.
That is what I think.
I'll tell you, Gamini. In 1940s, there was one country that came up with an organic plan. Do you know what that country is?
I don't know.
Bhutan. Bhutan came with an organic fertilizer cultivation plan. And as a result of that, in 2020, still they are only having 10% of their cultivation in organic.
So,
Since 1940 to 2020, they have not been able to
eventually
be
you say
an organic
the
country.
chemical fertilizer.
Now they
fertilizer
have increased it 20 to
you
35.
welcome chemical fertilizer.
I am not
Why?
saying.
What is
I
the
am
reason?
not. No, I am not saying
Is
that.
there
no,
hidden reasons
no,
there?
I'm not
Is
saying
there
that we
any
welcome.
connection
No,
with you? Is there
Gamini,
any,
we are not
any
saying.
interest on it?
No,
No.
Gamini, we
Tell
are
me
not
one-
saying.
one
Gamini,
answer.
we are.
Please,
Gamini,
please
we
tell
are
me.
not saying.
Are you against?
Gamini, we
Are
are
you
not saying in
against
any way.
the chemical
No, Gamini,
fertilizer or
Gamini,
not?
No,
You can't say that, I know.
I'll tell you.
What is the reason?
No, Gamini, I'll tell you.
The
I'll
nations
tell you.
know that.
I'll tell you, Gamini. There is no
Nations
reason.
know that.
There is no reason that we are saying chemical fertilizer is not the way out. We are not saying that. We are saying that there has to be a plan, a 10-year plan, as in the manifesto
That's
of
the
Gotabaya
policy
Rajapaksa.
decision.
Right,
That's
okay,
the
right.
policy
Anyway.
decision.
Anyway,
You
I just-
can say that is
Yeah,
correct.
anyway,
I can
right.
say something
Yeah,
is.
but I'm just saying, in the world, you asked me a question
Yes.
about my knowledge on chemical fertilizer and what are the countries. I told you that, so let's leave it at that.
But
Let
anyway,
the people decide. Let the people decide
You
what
did
is
you
right
did
and
say
what is
whether
wrong.
you agree,
No, I don't
whether
agree.
you agree
I don't agree with your thoughts.
with the fertilizer
No, we don't.
without
I don't agree.
chemical fertilizer. You didn't say that.
No.
Very interesting to see, hopefully once the lockdown ends, we wait a few years
Anyway,
and see if
thanks.
your
Not-
correlation between tourism and
But anyway,
organic agriculture.
what I said,
let's
what I
wait.
said,
Let's
here, what I said here, you pointed out, Mr.
Anyway, guys,
Silva,
we have to finish.
about
we have to finish.
Mr. Basil Rajapaksa,
We have to
but
finish.
you asked the same
We
question
have to
from
finish.
me.
Yeah, we have to
I
finish.
said
We have to finish, right?
we
Anyway,
must welcome him in the parliament.
I want
The
to
same
now
thing
move
happened.
to Tisat
Same thing
Vijayagunawardena,
happened.
President
This
Council.
one will be happen.
I start from where Mr. Perra stopped.
Yeah.
With regard to chemical fertilizer and organic fertilizer, we all love organic fertilizer. But you can't implement 100% organic fertilizer program in a country overnight. It takes years. I don't think anybody criticizes this organic fertilizer program of the government on the basis of its principle. Is that the people criticized the program because of the way it was implemented, without any readiness to address the issues faced by the farmers. So we all now experts have expressed their view to turn this country into at least some kind of organic country that uses organic fertilizer. It takes at least 10 to 15 years. So government is criticized for this policy of organic fertilizer, not because of the policy, the way it was implemented. Now, when it comes to, I'll come to this law and order, and what is the way forward for this country. I think we made a mistake by bringing this 20th Amendment, abolishing the 19th Amendment. As citizen of this country, when the 19th Amendment was brought to Parliament and when it became law, we did not, in fact, majority of the people, I think, did not realize the importance of the 19th Amendment. 19th Amendment brought the Constitutional Council. 19th Amendment abolished one person appointing people into key positions. 19th Amendment brought the independent commissions, bribery commission, police commission, and all those independent commissions. So we did not realize the value of independent commissions and the 19th Amendment at that juncture. But now we realize it. Now I think if this country wants to go forward, that 19th Amendment must be brought back and the independent commissions must be again brought back, and this country need that amendment.
Right. Thank you very much, Tisat Vijayagunawardena, President's Council. I now move on my attention to Mr. U.R. De Silva, President's Council.
Thank you, Shamil. Now, I am happy that Mr. Mendes' final thoughts, final remarks, because he said we must go forward and march together and be positive. So those are things that a person who is in the opposition side should come forward and say like that. It's very important. And we are also wanted the Sri Lanka to march forward. As far as law and order is concerned, now at this stage, we should know quarantine disease 2019 temporary enactment is there, and it was challenged in the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court has given their mandate or their concern about that, and they asked the government to change some clauses which they are going to adhere. It will be benefited to people because during this quarantine period, if they have violated some things that are there in the contracts, they can go to courts and ask the courts to give some concession, and then the remote communication technology is going to be implemented, and then thereafter the 14 days or 28 days or 2 years, 3 years, like where we have in our law, there are specific areas where we have to file our papers. If we are not in a position to file, we will be our claim will be dismissed. So to avoid that, we can go to courts and ask for time. So we have provided that areas, and we have increased the courthouses and the judges as well. So the Judicial Service Commission has agreed to increase the cadre of the magistrate, which they are going to do it, and thereafter the technology will be there in future for the people to get the benefit. So that is the law and order as far as the law and order is concerned. But as far as the police are concerned, what I am saying is we have to change the attitudes of the police people, because otherwise they think they have all the powers to do whatever they want. No, that is not. They have to act within the frame of the law, and if they are going to do arbitrarily, if they are going to do something, then the court should do the punishment. So if they are going to change their attitudes and think that we are the friendly people, we are going to work with the police, then it will be a good country. So we are happy at this stage. All opposition also, as my learned friend stated, that they came to this ship disaster thing, that they came to work with them, and the minister has appointed 5 committees. They are looking into that. So we think that it is a good move, and we say that it will be a very good move to benefit the people, and we hope that by thinking positively, we can march forward.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your attendance on tonight's show. Thank you very much, Tisat Gunawardena, President's Counsel, Dr. Mahim Mendes, Attorney at Law Gamini Pereira, as well as Mr. U.R. De Silva, President's Counsel, for joining us this evening on the show. It's very important to keep our viewers abreast as to what the situation in Sri Lanka is, and in terms of law and order, in terms of politics, in terms of economy, as well as current affairs. Thank you very much, Nadim. Thank you very much, Jayamal, as well as Disal. Was a bit silent today, Disal. What was the reason? No particular reason.
I mean, waiting for the right moment to come.
Right, okay. Anyway. Yeah, anyway, so so it's always nice to have some, also very good to have some young thoughts and questions from young journalists as well, Jamal and Disal. So I leave you tonight with a quote, as I always do. Laws are spider webs through which the big flies pass and the little ones get caught. Take care.